with those that they consider as part of their community. So today, I'm actually going to walk you through a worksheet that we put together to help you make these strategic choices when it comes to networking. So I'll share my screen and I'll show you where you can get access to the worksheet. So for those watching live, you can download it. And if you're catching this up afterwards, it'll be in the same place where you can go. So I'll just share my screen now. Here we go, entire screen. Screen one, here we go. Let me just bring it up. Oh, it's not what I wanted. Let me just minimize this. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. All right, so you'll find it here, just on the Buy Local Sunshine Coast website. You go resources, go local marketing live stream articles. This is where you'll see each of the episodes that I release. Here's episode 4. Obviously, it's in progress, so there's no content yet. But if you click download the worksheet, you'll get the Word doc, and you can complete it as we go. Or obviously, if you come in after the live stream, you'll find that green button just a little bit further down after the introduction. So that's where you can go to get the content. But anyway, let's jump straight into the presentation. And let me just pull up the chat so I can see it as it comes through. Let me just move this over here. Cool. All right. So, great. Here's the intro, networking as marketing strategy. Let's just jump right into here. I'm a real believer that the right introduction from a trusted partner can change your business trajectory. I've definitely experienced this where I've met people at networking events that's provided, maybe it's that nugget of wisdom. Maybe we've gone in and collaborated on projects together. They've introduced me to someone that's provided a big client opportunity. It's had a big impact on me. In fact, even Buy Local Sunshine Coast itself came about through networking, right? Through introduction to an introduction that led to me to be part of it. Even local networking nights, right, evolved through networking experiences. So it has had a huge impact on me personally. And I've no doubt for you watching now, networking has had a big impact on you as well. But this idea of planning, right? A lot of this, when it comes to networking events, we wing it. Right? We show up to the events that we have interest in or that we've gone to many times before. We don't really go in with a clear plan on how we're going to make the most out of this experience. And here's the thing, that might be okay. Like for you, it might just be about, hey, I just want to have fun. I just want to socialize. I just want to get out of the house, speak to some adults, and network with my fellow peers and have some good conversations over some drinks and some nibblies and whatever else might come across. So totally get that. But if you are treating networking as your primary source of new business opportunities, then it's helpful to go in with a plan. Right. So these kind of key questions that we'll address through today's live stream. So do you have a strategy? All right. So choosing the customers and the customer moments and referral partners worth prioritizing. So really thinking about who it is that you want to create connections with. Do you know where to go? All right. Because it might surprise you where the networking opportunities might actually be for you based on your customer and referral partners. And do you have a plan, like a nurture plan? Like, what's the follow through? All right, what's the follow up beyond, shaking hands and having a good conversation? What happens either the same day or the next day to turn that introduction into a genuine connection that might lead to new opportunities? So here's the worksheet we're going to go through, and I'll break it up into different stages. But here it is. So definitely do download the Word doc. And we'll go through this step by step. So I just want to share what the worksheet is, but we'll go through this step by step. Alrighty, so we're going to break it up. It's a one-pager planning document with 4 practical decisions. Right. So being really clear on who our customer is, right, through the lens of networking. Who are their trusted advisors? So who are our customers going to ask questions about the service that we deliver or the product that we offer? What are the questions that the customer is asking the trusted advisors, right? So what are these questions that we can assist and guide the trusted advisors so they can have these conversations with these customers that they can then refer on to us, right? So we'll go through that. And then the event strategy. So are we going to the right events and having a plan of what we want to do? Are we doing the right preparation, the right execution at the event, and what's our follow-up? So let's start with our ideal customer, right? And I have no doubt as a business owner, as a professional, you've already done some great work on defining who your ideal customer profile is. You might already have an established avatar. Maybe work with ChatGPT or Claude to define who your ideal customers are. All that great work, right? So definitely use that as a starting point. And I'll definitely do future live streams on a process to better define your ideal customer profiles. But for this exercise, what I really want you to focus in on when it comes to your ideal customer is to focus on the need, trigger, or behavior that prompts someone to seek your service. So I'm a big believer that the opportunity with our customers is often defined through behavior. So often when people define avatars or customer profile, they describe them, right? So the demographics, age, gender, maybe startup business to established business, income, all the like geographic locations, very kind of descriptive in nature, helpful, but it's only really a starting point. Behavior is about their relationship to the service that you're offering now, right? Have they used your service before? Have they used it? Are they going to be a first-time user? Have they used it once and didn't like it? Do they use it all the time and now we're looking for them to switch? Like, what is their current relationship with your service? Because marketing, broadly, is about changing behaviors. So if we understand where your ideal customer's position is now, we have an idea of what we want to change, which is to work with you, right, as the ideal next step. So I've got a couple of examples here to help cement the point. So let's stay with the real estate agent, right? Some of those triggers, right, those behaviors might be an owner who's selling to then upgrade, right? So they're upgrading to a larger home. Could be an owner who's selling to downgrade, right? So downsizing. An owner who's selling because they're looking to relocate, or an owner who's selling an investment to cash out. Because each of these reasons for selling or reasons for engaging with a real estate agent to sell their property, right, is likely set up a different set of trusted advisors, potential referral partners, people who can introduce us, right, to, as a real estate agent, people who it might be a mortgage broker, it could be an accountant, it could be a business coach, it could be the community organizer, who knows, right? That might end up going, well, people are coming to me and asking me questions about this, so let me recommend a good quality local real estate agent to look after you. Health and wellness coach. The triggers might be reacting to a health event, right? So something's happened recently, a major health event, and now they're looking out for a health or wellness coach to get them through this. Maybe it's a life stage health change. So it could be maybe post-pregnancy, right? Menopause. A man turning 40, right, going through his version of midlife crisis. Like, what's the life stage health change that might be being the trigger to reach out to a health and wellness coach? Changing coach, so they've been working with someone for a period of time and they're looking to make a change, so that could be a trigger as well. Or very specific goal-driven action, looking to lose weight, improve strength, better mental health, whatever the clear objective is, that might be what's driving them to do a bit of search. And same thing, right? Each one of these triggers will lead to different types of questions and a different advisor when they're asking them about, hey, who in my community or who in my network can help me find a health and wellness coach? And then we've got the business accountant as the other example. So maybe they're changing accounting firms, they'll work with someone else, and maybe they're looking to upgrade maybe they're going with a personal account, looking to upgrade to a business accountant. Maybe they're starting a new business, so that's why they're looking. Upgrading from self-management, so they've a year or two in and decided it's time to bring in a professional to look after it, or seeking finance readiness. Maybe they're about to get a business loan, maybe about to add a second location, whatever it might be. So now looking to change accountants to support that. So that's the key, right? So think about that for your service or for your product. What might be these kind of core reasons, right? Because this will help set us up on who might be the ideal referral partners behind this, right? So that's the thing, right? So I want you to write down, maybe you specialize as a real estate agent, those who are selling to upgrade to a larger home, right? So that might be really ideal for you, and maybe selling an investment, right? Pick out just one for now, right, for this exercise, what that might be, and provide a bit of context around it. And then what I want you to do is I want you to think about who are they going to as their trusted advisors? Like, who are they asking these questions? Like, I'm looking for a real estate agent, about to sell an investment property in this area. Who should I go to? It's going to look after us. It's going to get us the best deal. Are they speaking to maybe the buyer's agent that they partnered with when they initially purchased the house? Maybe they're speaking to a community organizer, right? That understands the local area and knows who's the good guys versus the bad guys, right? Like, who are the different people that they might be speaking to? Maybe there's a tradesman that they've used to look after the property. Like, hey, handyman, we're looking to sell. Who do you know in the area that's a good real estate agent to look after us? Maybe their property manager that they're using that you've used, now they're going to reach out and hey, what real estate agents would you recommend that we utilize? Who are those trusted advisors? And I want you to think about what questions that your shared customer, basically, right, are asking the trusted advisor, right? So again, the real estate example, if it's the property manager, it might be just that, like, who are the real estate agents who are trusted, are good results. Maybe they got some questions around the service, like, hey, what's the contracts like, or what's the commissions and rates like when working with a real estate agent? What's the right way to advertise versus the wrong way to advertise? Do I try selling off market before putting it on market? So there might be some series of questions that they've got in this kind of information gathering stage that they're speaking to the trusted advisor about. And then for you, you're like, well, what resources, what content can I provide these trusted advisors to help them better answer these questions? Because this is where your expertise can really empower, these trusted advisors, people you're about to meet, so they can better serve their customer, who is also your ideal customer. All right. And this is what makes this whole process very powerful. If you can take the time, and there's a couple other examples here of different questions, but if you can take the time to really think about, who is my ideal customer speaking to when they're in these early stages? What kind of questions are they asking? And maybe I can create some resources where I can go, hey, I'm going to, an ideal one, again, with a property guy might be like buyer's agents, or I'm like, yeah, I want to make sure that the buyer's agents, when their client, a few years after they've bought the investment property, are now looking to sell, that they're recommending me as a real estate agent to sell this property now on behalf of their client. What is the questions that buyer's agents might get about real estate agents? How do I provide them with the right resources, the right content, so they can use my content with their customers? So almost like we're building trust very early, right? Even before they start considering to making a decision to work with me as a real estate agent. Right, and again, health and wellness, same thing, right? It might be, maybe they're speaking to the GPs, maybe they're speaking to the dentist, maybe they're speaking to, they're getting a massage or going to a chiropractor. Maybe they're having conversations with, again, community leaders. Who are their trusted advisors? Who are they talking to about getting some help around their health and improving their wellness? And then what are those questions? What resources can I provide? Because we want to come as help. Because then when we start to go to these networking events, it's not just one and done with a business card. We're like, hey man, let's connect on LinkedIn. Hey, let me share with you some resources you might find really helpful. Let me know what questions are coming up. I can give you some really good quality answers, some really good quality resources to help. Have a branded content. Then you're building that relationship with their customers before they're even in the market to connect with you. It's a really cool strategy. And then, so that's kind of what this kind of outlines with these slides, right? So what are the questions that they're getting, right? And there's a couple more examples here. And then turning those questions into resources. So checklists, guide comparisons, intros and explainers, short little videos, whatever you find is helpful, right? That helps answer these questions. So these trusted advisors become empowered, more informed, right? Builds confidence, but also introduces you early in the process. Cool, right? So we've done that, right? So we've listed our trusted advisors. We've thought about what questions that they hear, and we've thought about what resources that we can provide them. And we know that this is a shared client, right? That we can collectively work together on. So now we're going to think about, well, what events are the trusted advisors going to that we can go to as well, right? Because it may not be a chamber event. It may not be a business referral club. Maybe there's industry-specific events. Let me bring this up. Industry-specific events or expos and conferences where how trusted advisors are going, right? There might be a big conference for accountants. So we may not be an accountant ourselves. We're like, hey, accountants give you like a really good referral partner for us. Let's say I'm a business coach. I help businesses that might be struggling with understanding their profit position. So I want to, build some relationships with some local accountants. I find out that there's a industry event that's happening in a couple of weeks. Great. I'm going to go, right, just as an attendee and speak to the speakers and the exhibitors. Maybe I might sponsor the event potentially as a way to have a larger presence there. Maybe offer to deliver some training for the accountants. But really kind of think about what are the different networking events that I can go to that can help position me as someone that they can rely on to help their clients, right? And position myself that way as something to be trusted, a good local provider. And there's a ton, as you know, right? For those who follow us on Buy Local Sunshine Coast, know with the networking guide, there is a ton of local events happening across multiple industries. So if you can really kind of focus in like, great, the trusted advisors of my customer, they're gathering here. So I'm going to go to those events and check it out. Cool. So that's a really important key part. And I would have, obviously, if we go back to the worksheet, I would have your 2 key customers outlined, right? Priority 1, priority 2. And then I'll think and start to kind of map this out, right? At least have 2. And that way you can make choices like, okay, well, I'm going to go to this networking event because I know that these potential referral partners who are also serving my customer are going to be at that event. So I know who I'm going to look out for, right? Someone says, oh, I'm an accountant. I'm going to go over and have a chat to them, right? That's where you make the strategic choice. So very, very important step to get that right. Cool. All right. So the next part now is just making sure that we're prepared for the networking event. So we want to make sure that we show up, that we can answer these questions, that we dress the part, we've got business cards, abilities to connect, we've got our LinkedIn profile sorted, I'll go through a bit of a checklist on prep for the meeting. But the other key thing we want to have is, what do we say? Right? We've really got, what is our introduction? Like, what is it that we want to make sure that we feel very comfortable in introducing ourselves? So immediately the person we speak to gets what we do. And this might be tailored for those trusted advisors, like, hey, I do this, and here's how I help accountants with their clients, and make it so it feels very tailored to the types of referral partnerships or relationships that we're looking to build as we attend the event. Now, I really like this structure for setting up your 20-second pitch, right? The problem, your solution, the outcome, and then the purpose, right? What do people find hard, right? What method or service helps? What changes for the customer, and why do you care about solving it? Really conversational. So I really like this style. I'll read this out so you can check it out. Really, really good, right? So based on a pitch, this actually comes from Customer Return. Has a really nice service too on helping to refine your pitch. I believe they're still running that service, but it's taken it from their template. But really, really cool. So, hey, what do you do, right? Very common question. So what do you do? Well, you know how people often find it challenging to answer that question. So what do you do in a way which really grabs your attention? Well, we have a 4-phase perfect pitch program, which helps businesses best communicate their value and attract more of their ideal clients. You see, business isn't always fair. We can create a lot of value, but if we can't communicate it well, we'll miss out on the clients that we deserve. I love helping businesses best communicate their value so they can attract more of their ideal clients that they deserve, right? I really like this phrasing as a way to introduce yourself. Problem, solution, outcome, purpose, and beliefs. You practice that enough. And then again, the idea is then you kind of tweak it just a little around the problem and the solution from speaking directly to your customers, but then your referral partners, right? So I would have a couple of variations for this based on who you're looking to speak to, but very slick style of pitching. All right, so that's the pitch. And obviously feel free to grab a screenshot of this. Obviously you can download the slides and make sure you're creating your own version of this for yourself. All right, so now before the event, let's do some preparation, right? Do a little bit of research, all right? Especially, you're going to take, be strategic about the event. There's a reason why you're going. So check out who's speaking, check out their LinkedIn profiles, check out their websites, who are the hosts, right? Learn a little bit about them. If you can find some information about the guests, sometimes on, if they've created a LinkedIn page or a meetup page, you can get some details about who else is attending. If they're sponsors, if they're exhibitors, just get a bit of a feel on who's attending. This might give you a bit of a, let's call it a target list, right? Of people you might want to reach out to. Plus, speakers and hosts in particular, they'll have a pretty good idea of who else is in the room. So it might be a really great, almost like a gateway to who is here and who should I be introduced to. But going to the host, introducing yourself like, hey, I'm really looking to be connected with some accountants. Do you know a good quality accountant who's here tonight that you can introduce me to? Again, as host an event, I've got this question of yes, right? Start thinking about, that person and that person, right? I'm happy to do that. So highly recommend, take advantage of the host and ask them for some introductions, right, on who I should be connected with. Let your network know that you're attending because other people in your network might also be attending the event. You might even say, hey, I'm attending this event. I'm looking forward to connecting with some business coaches at this event. If you're coming along and happen to be a business coach who's also coming along, I love an introduction on the night. Just kind of priming your network, your advocates, to think about, oh, great, Luke's coming to the same event than I am. He's looking to be connected with business coaches. I know John's coming, so I'm going to connect him up and take it from there. So a really nice way to prime your network. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date, right? You should be checking this, once a year, just making sure that it's still relevant and speaking to what your priorities are. Because often at networking events, people will connect via your profile. Prepare some small talk questions, right? Just so you feel comfortable in that. You don't want to go too deep too soon. Sometimes I'll speak to people I haven't met them. Hey, so tell me about your number one challenge in your business. I was like, I feel like we should do a little bit more small talk before we start speaking about challenges. But how's your day? What's one thing you're grateful for the week? Could be quite great. What was some of the highlights from the week? I like the conversations that are a recap focus, where they can kind of reflect on the last couple of days or last 24 hours, as well as asking, what do you do? And then you might ask questions like, tell me a little bit more about that. Maybe give me an example or story. I'm someone who does like to ask questions. So I get a better sense of who they are, who their personality is. And then start to get a point based on what I do, is there something I can do to help? Maybe someone I can introduce you to. That type of thing. But yeah, just have a couple of small talk questions ready to go. Obviously, feel comfortable with your 20-second pitch. Don't forget to breathe. Right? We all get a little anxious, a little nervous about coming to networking events. So you might have a bit of a breathing exercise before you enter the room, but also make sure you're giving yourself plenty of space. Duck out to the bar. All of us kind of have these tricks of the trade, I guess, on how we kind of moderate how emotions and our anxiety and all of that at these events. So, be aware of it and utilize it. And then during the event, don't just pitch a ghost. You do get a couple of those when they walk around, there's a racing through the room, trying to give everyone their business card. Feels very transactional and not really making the effort to build solid connection. So I do think it's important to be more tactful in how you do it. Obviously, you do want to naturally move through the room. One really good way I find actually is to bring people into the conversation, and then as you kind of and I might just be meeting these people for the first time, so they're all strangers, but I'll look like someone is kind of on their own, or maybe not quite talking. I'll bring them into the chat, allow the introduction to take place. And if them two are having a good conversation, then I might then use that as an opportunity to then move to the next conversation. So if you hear me say that and you're like, oh, I've seen Luke do that to me before, for me, it's really important that I don't leave anyone hanging, right? So and I just find that really helpful. Just bring people in the conversation, make it a little bit bigger, and usually they kind of take off, and it gives me the space to move around. And as a host, I often do want to feel obligated to move around the room a little bit, so everyone feels welcome to my event. So those kind of tactics are really helpful. But when I do have that conversation, asking questions, speaking slowly and clearly, I'll probably take my own advice on that one. But making sure only make your pitch where it's relevant. You might optimize it or kind of refine it a little bit based on where the conversation is going. You may capture notes for follow-up. Maybe it might be during the event. You might make some quick notes on your phone. Maybe got a quick note taker, a voice memo, perhaps. Maybe after the event, you might sit in the car and just make a couple of quick notes. But it's helpful to just capture what's most relevant to you so you can make the most of the follow-up. But yeah, do not pitch and ghost. And then after the event, right? So just have like a bit of a follow-up plan. So I do recommend, either same day or within one business day. If you have connected, so maybe you've exchanged business cards, or you've connected on LinkedIn, or use your phones to share contact details, whatever the connection look like. Just send a really simple message like, hey, it was great meeting you at the Local Networking Nights event last night. Really enjoyed our conversation. Happy to continue it, if you're free next week, over a copy or a video chat, whatever it might be. That's it, right? Like 2-3 sentences makes a lot of difference to give them almost like permission to further engage with you. And it's like a sort of reminder of that chat. Because, if you're at a networking event, you might have met a dozen people and you can lose track of everyone that you've connected with. So just send a message. I often do that through LinkedIn, but if you're only connected on the phone, maybe it's a quick text message. But I like to keep it to like under 30 words, no pressure, not selling at all. It's really just, hey, thanks for connecting, or nice meeting you last night. And if you would like to continue the conversation, let me know. Then 3 to 5 days, try a different format. Maybe you want to share a useful resource like, hey, last week we spoke about, the challenges in creating, good quality content with LinkedIn using AI to make it feel personable and relevant. I actually put together this blog that I think you might find really interesting that kind of builds on what we spoke about. Here's the link. So you're basically coming as help, right? And based on, I'm going to go back here, the strategy, right? I'm now starting to share helpful resources as a way to kind of build this new connection, this new relation with this person I met by being helpful, right? Because I'm aware of what questions their customers might be asking them about my service. So I'm going to start to just share some helpful resources. It doesn't feel salesy, doesn't feel like overtly, like, hey, do this, but like, I just want to help, right? And ideally using it like referencing what you spoke about in the conversations that you had. And that might be one of your small talk questions, like, hey, what are some of the common questions you're getting? Now that you know that I'm a real estate agent, what kind of questions are you getting from your clients about trying to find the right real estate agent for them? All right, and maybe they've given you something, and you're like, cool, I can send that resource, great. Where am I? Cool. So, and then look, ask the referrer to help. Keep the connection moving if introduced, and the long burn, like you might just reach out a couple of times, not responding, then no worries, you don't want to pester them, but I would reach out just a couple of times to help create the, at least set up an introductory call or connection call to see if there is an opportunity to become referral partners. Cool, makes sense. And then we jump into, some examples, what that looks like, checklist, short guides, comparisons, templates, like all this stuff, right? All this can be really great. And this can just be links you drop into a LinkedIn chat, quick emails, even a text message, Facebook Messenger, whatever it might be, really based on how you connected. You might just start to share some helpful stuff. Don't overdo it, but you really just kind of like just laying the groundwork that you can be a really helpful referral partner for their customers. Cool. So next steps for you, now that you've watched the live stream, is to complete the worksheet and really start thinking about how you're going to approach your next networking event differently. Right. So choose one event, right? It could be in person, online. Think about who those 3 advisors might be, or even just one advisor, but just kind of think, okay, I'm going to look out for these types of trusted advisors of my customers. So I've got an idea of the types of people I want to meet. I want to have some resources ready to share with them after I've made the connection. And then I'm going to really think about following through, right? So I'm not just chatting to people, networking events. There is a follow through that I'm doing. And I'd love for you to really test it out, over the next 2 weeks and see if the results of your networking activities improve as a result of coming in with a real strategy where you're really thinking about who I want to speak to, who I want to be introduced to at the event, and how I'm going to follow up with helpful resources. So I can hopefully start to be introduced to their customers who can become my customers. Cool. So yeah, next step, complete the worksheet, choose one event, follow up, and you'll be good. And if you do need help, so if you do want to sit down and review it together, as always, Let me just bring this back up. Here we go. You can book let me bring this up, a clarity session with myself. So if you want to sit down and let's just go through your networking strategy for the Sunshine Coast, right, in particular, where we can go through, and obviously I've got access to all the major networking or business events on the Sunshine Coast, so we can sit down and pull a real plan together, really help you kind of think through who those customers are, who their trusted advisors are, think through what those questions might be, what resources we can create, how to create them using AI and a few other bits and pieces so they're ready to go and be shared. You're more than welcome to book a marketing clarity session with us. So you saw as I went to buylocalsunshinecoast.com.au. If you're watching the live stream on our hosting page, there's a button there already. But please do. I'd love to chat to you. And as always, if you watch the live stream, use the coupon code LIVE, so LIVE, and you'll get a $100 discount when you book the clarity session with us. So yeah, I cannot wait to chat to you about your networking strategy. We'll put a real plan together, really think about how we're going to execute it and make sure you got all the resources and connections you need. And hey, I'll do some intros already, right? So I'll potentially introduce you to a couple of hosts and some events, talk about maybe some sponsorship opportunities, just some one-on-one connections. All of that I can do as part of our marketing clarity session. So please do take advantage. Let me stop sharing my screen, bring this up here so I can look at myself. So thank you so much for watching the local marketing stream with Hawley. Hope you found this session helpful. And yeah, I'll see you same time next week.